hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. It is I, Mr. Warren Hayes, and thank you very much for allowing me to enter your current stream of consciousness to talk about professional wrestling, because that's what we do here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. We talk about professional wrestling. We'll be doing it for a couple of hours or so, right here, wherever you're listening to it, whether it be on video on demand on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application as well, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, so on and so forth. The Mr. Warren Hayes Show can be consumed just about anywhere. We can talk about professional wrestling just about anywhere. And I want to thank you for doing so. And if you want to show a little support, there's a couple of really quick ways you could do it. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, you leave a like on the video, you subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss a single moment when I record this podcast live, because I record this on YouTube every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that way you won't miss out, and you'll never miss out on my AEW Dynamite reviews, which pop up every Thursday. They pop up on YouTube. They pop up on podcasts as well. So even if you're a podcast type of person, you can still subscribe, follow, do whatever you can to show some support there. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, that's also pretty cool. 5-star rating on Spotify, that's also very cool. Little tiny things you can do to show support. Little tiny things, but they end up making a big deal. So again, thank you in advance for any support you can show. On that level, I appreciate it a great deal. You could also, of course, join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. That was a mouthful for some reason. It's always there. It's always open. There's always people talking about pro wrestling and other subjects. It's always a good time. So make sure to pop in and say hello. The link is in the description. So that's something as well you can do. You can join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on YouTube as well. When you do so, you get access to members-only live streams where more wrestling is discussed. So, there's all sorts of ways, more Warren Hayes content out there that you can get into, that you can, places for you to discuss. I have a great little community and I want to see it grow. We'd love to have you in it. It would be extraordinary. Hey, last week I skipped a week. I was feeling a lot, let's be honest, sick, couldn't quite make it for the show, and I apologize. So this week, we got a chock full episode of great wrestling subjects and talks and things that look. New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's going to be a lot of chat about that this week. New Japan Battle Autumn happened last weekend. We're going to talk about World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League on top of that. We're going to chat about everything that happened over at AEW over Rampage, a few AEW news and notes, and talk about the WWE, and you'll have to stay around to see how that goes. In the meantime, though, well, you know what? Let's just get to it. You skip a week and you forget how to do everything. Thank you for being here. Let's just go. Okay, so last week, as I mentioned, I was sick, was not here, and to avoid getting into a situation like it happened, just about a few months ago, where I suddenly develop a backlog of 2 nice things to say about Bill Goldberg, not like 5 or 11, like just 2. And then the chat always like coming after me. I mean, Warren, you owe us one. Are you doing 2 this week? I'm going to knock it out of the park right now today. We're going to do 2 nice things about Bill Goldberg. I'm not going to let this one stretch out. I've got 2 in the chamber here for us tonight. Are we ready for this? Gil Goldberg? All Gil Goldberg fans, get ready. I am so close to finishing this resolution, it's ridiculous. I am so stoked. Anyway, here we go. 52 nice things about Bill Goldberg. Let's do it.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
If Bill Goldberg were involved with the Acclaimed instead of Billy Gunn, we'd probably be saying, "Locker me, Daddy Spear."
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Okay, there's number one. And now, another nice thing about Bill Goldberg.
WarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
So this one time, Bill Goldberg was riding down the interstate on his chopper, right? And he pulled into a dive to have a drink. He sees people pointing at him and staring, and he feels some people might even have been snickering, right? But he's thirsty, he doesn't pay much mind, sits down, orders a drink, and after his drink, he settles up and pops back out of the dive bar and sees that his motorcycle's been stolen. He stomps back into the bar and throws a nearby chair, getting everyone's attention. "Which one of you nerds stole my bike?" he screamed, but nobody moved. "I said, which one of you pencil necks went out there and stole my bike?" Not a peep or a response back. Bill smashed his head against a nearby locker and said, "Okay, listen, I'm going to sit down for one more drink. If my bike isn't back by the time I finished my drink, I'm going to have to do what I did in Texas. And let me tell you, I did not like what I had to do in Texas." Goldberg sits back down, orders another drink, sips it quietly, settles up, and walks back out with purpose. He pops outside, no sign of the bike. He storms back inside and yells, "Okay, fine. Have it your way. Now I'm gonna do what I had to do in Texas." And he spins right around and leaves the bar. One of the patrons stands up and steps outside after him. "What did you do in Texas?" he shouts to Goldberg as Bill is storming across the interstate. "I walked home."
WarrenHayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
God, I love having my own podcast. Let's do the weekly wrestling inspection. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay, so no, I will not be recapping Crown Jewel tonight. Just in case you were wondering, especially if you're new to the show, because I made a choice to not cover the Saudi shows for a long time, and I haven't covered the shows in a while as well, because to be honest, I can't support a show that is being sponsored by a government that has terrible human rights record. A country that still does not provide equal rights for women, where being gay or trans is a criminal offense and can be punishable by death, and who engages in genocide of neighboring countries. Like, this is something that I just can't do. I as a human, my values, it stands up against every value that I have. Everything that rings true to me. And I don't want, and I'm not going to sit here and moralize, right? Because I honestly don't want to spend hours on this, because we have a lot more fun stuff to talk about. But I do want to make a mention of this, right? And the reason why, and look, I'm going to give y'all just a peek behind the curtain, which is something I don't often do. I don't talk a lot about my private life for multiple reasons, because first and foremost, I like to keep my private life private. But look here, when I was essentially, when I was a kid, right, I was essentially raised by my mother and her sisters. My mother's side of the family, it was a big family. And she had a lot of my aunts, her sisters, right, who spent large amounts of time with us over the weekends. They'd get together, and I'd always tag around, and I spent a significant amount of time with them. Some of my aunts happened to be lesbians as well, and all of them showed me early on firsthand what it meant to be loving and respectful and tolerant. That there was nothing to fear from. There was nothing to fear from people who weren't, like me. I'm the father of a trans kid. a beautiful, brilliant, artistic kid who was going through these such times, and I'm, with my full support, and I'm learning throughout the entire process. I'm learning with him as well, and he's leaning on me as I lean on him for some things as well. And there's nothing but love here, which in some cases accounts for a lot of the things that I do like to stand up for, in my podcast and online in general, and how I cover and talk about wrestling and what I choose to cover. So, I can't sit here and talk about trans rights and LGBTQ rights on one hand, and then from the other corner of my mouth going, hey, weren't those drones in Saudi Arabia cool? I can't do that. It's not right. And even beyond my own personal stuff, if I sit here and I vouch for women's wrestling and I support gay wrestlers, how can I turn around and do a full 180 and then sit here and get excited about and get excited about those shows overseas? And I know I speak from a place of privilege, because as far as my coverage goes, because this isn't my job, right? This is not my livelihood. This is a passion project that I have. I have a job that sustains all of my basic needs. So this is just fun. So I can easily, it's not hard for me to make a choice as to, I'm going to cover this or not. That's really easy, because a lot of my contemporaries don't necessarily have that luxury, because they require the ad revenue or the views or the super chats, whatever, or the bits, or website visits to make a living. Like I get that a lot of, I'm not trying to be overly critical, because I have enough self-awareness to realize that I am not in their shoes. I cannot decide to just be like, I will stop covering such and such an event, because for a lot of them, this is tied into their reality. However, this doesn't keep me from wondering why the coverage isn't more balanced in that matter. Because the plain, simple fact is that the Saudi Arabia shows are not your typical run-of-the-mill WWE live events. They're typical pay-per-views or PLEs, whatever you want to call them. These are not shows that are for fans. This is state-sponsored. These are state-sponsored orders, right? This is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that is giving WWE money to come hold the shows. This is sports washing, is what it's called. And WWE is back to being really fully involved in it. They had dialed back a lot of stuff, but Triple H's first Crown Jewel show, and he's all over the place with the Prince, and they're holding belts together, and WWE is praising the Prince of Saudi Arabia, and you're like, okay, we're full on, we're back in. This is where we're at now. Again, since these shows are not your usual fare, I think they should not be covered in the same way. And not a lot of people do it well. I think, when I think about media outlets who do it well, I would call Post Wrestling probably the best wrestling media outlet that covers it the right way, or at least in a way that makes sure that you understand that what the implications of the Saudi shows really and truly are. I think John and Wei do a fantastic job of that. I think Brandon Thurston over at WrestleNomics, who just so happens to work alongside Post Wrestling as well, I think he does a fantastic job making sure that the business aspect is as transparent as possible. But a lot of my, I don't think it's overall reported or covered in a way which really brings everything to light, because quickly it returns to the this match is going to be great. I remember this. What if this is going to happen? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Everyone does their prediction shows, and nothing really sticks. I don't think it's right to be out there. Not that. Hang on. Let me rephrase that. I think it's strange for people to be out there championing for rights for rights to get better rights for misrepresented groups in wrestling, and then turn around and have crown jewel prediction shows and post shows and so on and so forth, where nothing in the scummy side is brought to light. Everyone acts like it's just another PLE, like it's held out of New Jersey or something, and it's not. But look, it's not as if WWE is going to continue to take a big place on the MrWarrenHayes show per se. And this is independent to whatever happens at Crown Jewel in Saudi. Over the course of this year, and I think a lot of you noticed, I quietly stopped covering WWE because I thought everything had become bad. It had turned into a very, very tedious show to watch, and was really, really difficult to just get into. So I just stopped. I stopped covering Raw. I stopped covering SmackDown on a regular basis because I just couldn't take it, and I wanted to watch wrestling that made me happy. And Raw and SmackDown weren't making me happy. Then we have the whole Vince thing that happens. Triple H takes over. We get SummerSlam 2022, and we see Bayley come back. We see Io Shirai being called up and Dakota Kai being rehired. And I'm like, oh, well, now this is interesting. And we get a whole bunch of people being called back in, and a lot of people getting really, really excited at the idea of Triple H being in charge, entering an era where finally Vince McMahon doesn't have his fingers in the pie of pro wrestling. Like, these are unprecedented historic times, regardless of how you feel about WWE. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to tune back in. I'm going to give this a chance. And I saw little specks of light. I saw, the space being returned to wrestlers that I really like, having moments returned to them. Notably Kevin Owens, who is a wrestler that I have always loved and that I think is above and beyond many performers on that roster. Just to see him be able to stretch his legs and be the prize fighter again and act like it and wrestle like it. That's the kind of shit that makes me happy. And I saw little specks of light as such, good 15-minute matches happening on Monday Night Raw where I'm like, oh, all right, now we're cooking right now. And I'm talking outside of all the they can say wrestling again. Oh, the refs have names again, which has always been window dressing. I've told you this before. There was nothing of substance in that. Michael Cole said PWG. Yes, okay, but at some point, that should actually be the norm. It's exciting to see them mention other promotions. Don't get me wrong, but at some point, it's like you can't base an entire new revolution, a foundation of new things just based on that stuff. But as weeks went on, we get to this point here where I feel we're just exactly back to where we were. All the surprise NXT rehirings have been done. We got Hit Row back. We got Dexter Lumis back. We brought back Braun, wasn't NXT, you know what I mean? But Braun Strowman's back, carrying Cross. Nikki Cross is, closer to her sanity gimmick now. But the point is that we're not getting main roster 2018 through 2019 NXT. We're not. That's not what we're getting. Clearly. This is not what we're getting. But I mean, at the same time, I told you guys, gals on Benjamin Palace, right? Who, if you've been watching for a while, listening, I told you there would not be any significant changes to how Raw and SmackDown feel, not until we get, not when renegotiations are coming up. They're going to try and keep the formula as safe and as maintaining expectations as much as possible before they try anything else. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that nothing has changed. But I guess I'm surprised at how quickly everything has just returned to how it felt even when Vince was there. How everything just kind of connects with what was being done in the past, and whatever new exciting feelings that people were, or the hope that people were having towards, new stuff, it's sort of dwindling away because there's really nothing new. It's like I said, we're back to where we were. And last night's Raw is kind of putting me over the edge here on that front. Johnny Gargano, bless his heart, trying to get a takeover match out of the Miz. It's kind of absurd. It didn't work out. Mustafa Ali continuously getting geeked, still getting geeked. No matter how many times they're like, no, this is it. Mustafa Ali is becoming the new Apollo Crews. Or they're gonna tease you with something and then they're gonna pull it away. I mean, if Mustafa Ali was not portrayed like a total geek last night, I don't know what to tell you. And this is me, a Mustafa Ali fan, a guy who still maintains to this day that he is one of the top. He had one of the best matches in the history of WWE with Buddy Murphy on 205 Live a few years ago. This is a guy who I think is excellent. They have been squandering. He's in his peak. And they can't put him on TV. Why? I don't know. But I would have thought that a changing of the guard, understanding that, work rate does mean something, and that Ali was criminally misused because maybe Vince was just an old racist who couldn't wrap his head around, someone brown like Ali could come across as a big time babyface. I was hoping for the best, but no, we're still in the hamster wheel. And last night, here's the thing, is that last night started with a really strong promo. I thought the openings promo between the Usos and the New Day, as much as when they announced that we were going to have this match on Friday, the Usos and the New Day again, like, okay, let's do this again. It's not as if, but then they added the stakes of the longevity, the longevity of the title run. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Then they have this face off where they're comparing challenges and what it means to work hard for what they have. Both of them on their own side of the spectrum. Neither of them sounding more convincing than the other. Just both sides sounding like, okay, everyone here is scraped and scratched really hard to get where they are. And I appreciate both teams, and there was something very energetic about it. And then it makes a complete 180 to make room for weed innuendo on a PG program, right? What does someone think of the children? I don't have a problem with it. I'm not trying to grandstand here and say, oh my God, drug references on my television. I don't care. That's not, I just, if it had been funny, it'd be good. If the jokes would have been fun and not forced, like calling bongos bong doesn't make, and no one calls bongos a bong. No one. No one. Here, tap my bong, tap and pat. Like, come on now. This is all very forced and stupid and completely derailed. An otherwise fantastic promo. I don't know why. I don't know who decided to do this. And that's what I hear. Then, that's what you see and what you hear from a lot of WWE fans. And then they'll latch on to this and they'll say, holy shit, this promo was great. And it really was. But is one 12-minute segment enough to make up for the 2 hours and 48 minutes that you're going to put up with the rest? And I don't think there's a proper balance, because the rest, everything else is so middling / frustrating. Like, if I'm in a live audience, why am I watching Mike the Miz in a sting operation? Why am I watching this on TV? Why did I pay ridiculous amounts of money to see that? And there was, last night's Raw was a Raw that had a minimal amount of actual wrestling happening. And you see, here's the things, like the goofy angles are still there, with the whole Mike Mizanin, Dexter Lumis stuff, and Dexter Lumis cutting his way through tarp and all that shit. The juvenile, faux, edgy humor is still there. The weed innuendo. Oh, Raw 30 is 3 X's. Maybe we can get Road Dogg to come out and say penis again. That'll be funny. And I've tried, folks. I've tried. And I hope, I think, I feel that I gave it a fair shake. I tried really, really hard, and I wanted to give Raw and SmackDown the once over, because I want wrestling to work. I want wrestling to be good. SmackDown has always been a terrible watch. Like, SmackDown, I can't watch it, even during this period. Raw had its moments. Look, on SmackDown, you have, the Bloodline stuff with Sami Zayn is great. The Brawling Brutes Imperium stuff is great, right? Sheamus's career resurgence is great. But it's not enough to carry 7 hours of programming when the rest is apathetic, formulaic nonsense that happens week after week in the same packaging. In the same asepticized, overproduced, unnatural packaging. And honestly, I expect more from the biggest wrestling company in the world. A wrestling company that pulls in billions of dollars, $1 billion a year. I expect more from a company with those types of resources. And this is an argument that I've had for years at this point, even when I was doing post shows back on Fightful. I have not changed my tune. I expect more from WWE because they are the leader, because they have ungodly amounts of resources at their disposal, which is why something like at Halloween Havoc with the haunted house thing, I look at this and I'm like, this is unacceptable. I cannot get behind this because WWE has the money, has the production value, has the people and the creatives to do something better than this. This is half-assed. They're still half-assing it as if they're pulling in $20,000 a month back in the 80s. They're half-assing it all. When they absolutely should be putting on better quality, better put together shows than what we're getting. And you know what? I'm going to continue to watch the pay-per-views, the PLEs, if you prefer. I'm going to continue doing that. And I'm going to continue reporting because they're big events, right? You watch the big events, regardless. The big events are important. They're significant, and sometimes you often get gems on these shows. And I'm gonna keep watching that because I think that's proper. I'm gonna continue reporting on the business side of WWE because it is the biggest wrestling company in the world. Hey, you can say wrestling now again. Remember? So it's a wrestling company again. So that's going to continue, but I can't. I'm telling you guys, last night pushed me over. It pushed me over the top. I can't continue. Christ, Austin Theory coming out with the briefcase to cash in on a title that he's already won, the mid-card title on Raw, which he has already won in the past on his own without a cash-in. And he comes in and cashes in when Bobby Lashley came out to accept the open challenge that Seth Rollins had, but the match never started because Lashley got the shit kicked the shit out of Rollins, excuse me. So the match never started. Why didn't Theory just go tell the ref, I'm not cashing in, but I'm taking up this opportunity here. I'll do the open challenge. Oh, but Seth was unresponsive. This is what he was unresponsive. The ref wouldn't have started the match. They started the match. Do you not think in WWE booking that the referee would have gone to see Seth Rollins and Seth would have, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, because they're all alpha males, right? And the referee was like, "You sure you want to do this?" And Seth was like, "Ring the bell, ring." The ref would have done one of these. All right. Ring the bell. And the match would have happened and Theory would have won and he would still have the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then of course I have people trying to explain this to me. As if I don't understand why they do it. Oh, well, they did this because there was no way he was ever beating Roman. And I'm like, okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So what does that mean? What does that say? Does it say that it was a bad idea in the first place to put it on Austin Theory? Yes. Would it have been just a good idea to have him try to cash in on Roman and then Roman fuck him up? That also would have been a much more satisfying conclusion. Like, the most satisfying conclusion would have been Austin Theory trying to cash in on Roman, like he tried to do at SummerSlam with the fucking John Deere stuff, right? You know what I mean? Trying to do that stuff. That's where he should have cashed in instead of just them half-assing it. It was like, no, he didn't quite cash in anything. Do it there, he loses, and we never speak about it again. Now, the embarrassing thing here is that he does this on the mid-card title. And he loses it. This is what makes this embarrassing. But Warren, it's clear, they just wanted to get the briefcase off him. I know it's clear. It's clear as day, just like Nikki Cross tossing the 24/7 title into a bin. They're just scrapping some ideas right and left. I don't understand this. Like I do not understand why then people are defending this. Well, he's an idiot. You're goddamn right he's an idiot. So basically we sat throughout all these months wondering when is he going to do it or not, and having these teases all throughout. And he ends up getting, losing the title because he's dumb as a doorknob. That's not a good payoff for what is supposed to be a major storyline. Money in the Bank is supposed to be a major storyline. Regardless, I think it's time to retire Money in the Bank. People, we should put it on the WrestleMania shows. I say, give it a fucking rest. Wait. Money in the Bank with Roman Reigns as champion was never a good idea. Who has benefited, and I mean benefited, from being a Money in the Bank winner over the past 3 to 4 years? Like, who has elevated their career because of it? And don't tell me, Nikki Ash got a title, won a title that way. Liv Morgan. No. I mean, their careers benefited. And I would argue no one. Because Roman's the guy. Because everyone is pushing Roman. That's the thing. So now we're turning around here. And I understand what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. I understand what they're doing. I get it. They just want to flush this down the toilet. And people are saying, Warren, don't worry. It's just not Austin Theory's turn. And this is the bullshit. And this is the thing that permeates everything that exists in WWE when it comes to titles. It's not his turn yet, as if it's a turn. And this is one of the things that we've lost in the perception, in the vision of what pro wrestling is. It's not a question of whose turn it is at bat. It's a question of who is the best person to be your world champion, who is the top draw of your company, who is putting asses in seats, who is getting people to switch quarter hours from whatever they're watching to come see them on your program, who is selling tickets, who's pushing merch. It's not a question of whose turn it is. I don't give a shit if Austin Theory ever wins the title or not. If he wins it one day, I hope it is because he has become the John Cena like everyone keeps telling me he is. I hope he does. The point is, it's not a question of turns. And I think, to a degree, that one Kevin Owens promo that he did early on in the Papa H comeback tour, where he blasted Austin Theory and told him, you got a lot to prove here, kid, essentially. I think that was Triple H speaking through Kevin Owens, and I think we got proof of it last night, that Triple H is like, Theory, you're being pushed way too soon and people aren't ready for you yet. And I'm not sure I'm ready for you yet. I've got other people that are much more over and ready to go than you are. So work your way up, kid. And that's pro wrestling. Not shoving shit down our throats. Being like, oh, well, because don't try to make sense of this nonsense. It was a bad decision from the get-go. It was a bad decision that he didn't drop it at this point, and it made everything come off as even more useless and pointless because he cashed in on the mid-card title and lost. So whatever was invested in Austin Theory, whatever we were WWE promising us, telling us, he's Mr. Money in the Bank, and he's going to have his chance, he's going to get his opportunity. Oh, he tried here, but he didn't. It was all for nothing. This was a waste of time. This is not a payoff. And I promise you, this put me over in regards to, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't watch Raw anymore. I can't watch WWE. I'm good. I'm done. I'm ready to move on. So there is plenty more wrestling to talk about. Plenty more wrestling to talk about out there. I'm going to keep an eye on WWE. Don't get me wrong. But, I'm going to go back to what my formula was. People out there, DMing me, telling me on Twitter or in the Discord, Warren, you've got to see this match on Raw. It was amazing. Kevin Owens and Chad Gable was fantastic. I'll go check it out. You got to go see this promo from so-and-so was awful. Okay, I'm going to go check it out. But, oh my God, I'm pretty much done here. Flowman, nice to see you. Welcome. He is a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Has been for 9 months at this point. Thank you very much, Flowman. I appreciate your membership. Tons. He says, I miss when Money in the Bank cash-ins were men. That's ridiculous. Yeah. No, but I mean, I understand what you mean. Like, it's so ridiculous. Last year, like, it's too straight. 3 straight years that the cash-ins are pointless and useless. Last year, chat, I'm sure, chat, you're going to, you'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, and you'll be very happy. Last year we had Otis and The Miz going to court over the briefcase, right? That was the thing, and then Otis lost the briefcase because, again, they put the money on the bank on one guy and they're like, oh, well, this isn't really going to work, right? Wasn't that last year? And then the year before that, oh no, that's right, it was Big E last year. Thank you, Floman, you're right. So there was Big E last year, and look at the memorable title reign that created. Anyway, but you're right, that was Big E. The year before that was Otis and Miz, and the year before that was Braun Strowman pre-announcing that he was going to cash in on Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at a SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken. And that just ended up going womp womp. Like, it's just been womp womps. Because the thing here, I thought I was done talking about Money in the Bank. Seriously, I want to move on. But the thing here is that Money in the Bank, the last few Money in the Banks have not created anyone. They haven't created any stars. They haven't created, as much as everyone would like to say, oh, the star is born. No. They put the title on Big E and no, absolutely zero, absolute negative ways. No, I love Big E. I think he is a fantastic human and a great performer. And I was excited to see him win the title, but winning the way he did wasn't off for a great start, and I knew he was doomed. I knew he was doomed when the week after he's put in a triple threat match or something, and he loses. The first outing he has with the belt around his waist, he loses. Big E had an underwhelming championship run. You can't tell me that it was successful. It was not. The cash-in was successful, but the follow-up was terrible. And that is always the case with Money in the Bank. At least recent. Some quick notes on the on WWE's earning call, which happened last week. Just some quick notes here. Revenue was, they declared that revenue for the third quarter of 2022 was $304 million, which is an increase of 19% as opposed to last year. Operating income was $58.9 million, a decrease of 8%. And they're also adjusting the OIBDA was 91.2 million, which was an increase of 17%. So of course, coming out of the pandemic, so on and so forth, and still seeing upticks. Clash of the Castle, which was the first major WWE stadium event in the UK in over 30 years at Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales. It was the most viewed international event in WWE's history. If I'm not mistaken, let me give a quick bit of research here. If you know, they didn't announce the amount of money per se, but WWE reported $8 million in international ticket sales for the quarter. Now, since there wasn't a Saudi show during the quarter, and the only international show other than that they had was Clash at the Castle, they drew an $8 million gate. That's insane. That's huge. They also reported that each WWE domestic premium live event, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Extreme Rules, was the most viewed event in its history, with year-over-year increases of 17%, 20%, and 36% respectively in domestic unique viewership on Peacock. Which still leads me to the question, J.K. Schwal, by the way, nice to see you, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Good to see you, J.K. Schwal, welcome. Which leads me to the question, what is a view on Peacock? I don't know. What constitutes a view on Peacock? And to me, that's not even the most interesting statistic. The most interesting statistic that I'd like to see is, view percentage or hours watched. That's actually something you can sink your teeth into, because whatever the definition of a view is can be extremely skewed. Let me give you an example. On Facebook, watching 2 seconds of a video on Facebook constitutes a view. So essentially, you scroll, you stop, you see a video, you continue scrolling, that's a view. So and it's, look, it's the same thing on YouTube, right? YouTube, I think it's like the minute that you press play, whether you get ads or not, the minute you press play constitutes a view. But the stat that people want to see from you as a YouTuber, that advertisers are interested, people that want to partner up with you, the stat that's really interesting is is view time, view duration. How long do people engage with your content? How much are they actually watching? That's a significant event. That's the significant stat, but it's not a public-facing stat for YouTube. YouTube will put out the number of views. That's how everything is based. So someone clicks on your video, watches it maybe for a couple of seconds or 10 seconds, whatever. That's a view. But it will cause your average view duration to dip. So when WWE tells us, hey, all of these views here were up 17%, 20%, like, I don't even know what that means, because I don't know what constitutes a view. We have no point of reference, because all this information is private. It's locked behind doors, and that's fine. But I don't see what's spectacular about it. I don't see what's great about it, because I have no point of reference. It's very different from a pay-per-view buy, where it's regardless how long you actually watch the thing. And I'm assuming if you pay for a pay-per-view, you're going to watch the whole thing, but people are weird. But a buy is a buy. Do you know that there were, 110,000 people who were interested enough in the programming to watch it? This goes along the fact that Peacock is seeing an uptick in subscribers as well. I don't want to poo-poo here too much and be like, and try to get super granular, but there is, there's a rise. There's a rise of viewership, a rise in viewership of premium live events on Peacock, but there is also an overall rise of members on Peacock. So one goes with the other, I'd say. So again, it's not I think these are meaningless stats until we get something very juicy. Until we see, people are tuning in and are actually watching X percentage of the show. The average duration of a premium live event is 65 minutes or 137. Like, that's the stat we need for any of these percentage. Like, they look great. The 17% looks great, but if they had, if you have one view 1 year and then you get 17 the next year, that's anyway, look. I'm not going to start doing math. I'm going to hurt my head. Special committee investigation also gave us an update here, and I'm going to read it. This is, of course, the investigation that was put together to check out, Vince McMahon's NDA stuff. As previously announced, a special committee of independent members of the board of directors was formed to investigate alleged misconduct by Vincent K. McMahon, the company's former chairman and chief executive officer, who resigned from all positions held with the company on July 22nd, 2022, but remains a stockholder with a controlling interest, and another executive who is also no longer with the company. Before we continue, we have to stop with the discourse that Vince retired, because we're talking about resignations. The verbiage that has been used by, this is the second quarter actually in a row where we get updates on the special committee investigation where the word resignation is used. So we're going to stop with the retirement talk. We're going to stop going on the idea that Vince retired because he felt it was time. He was pushed out. He retired. He resigned, excuse me. He resigned. The special committee, and by the way, and the other executive, this is the second thing, the other executive who is no longer with the company, of course, that's John Laurinaitis. Weird that they're not mentioning him by name. The special committee investigation is now complete, and the special committee has been disbanded. Management is working with the board to implement the recommendations of the special committee related to the investigation. For the 3 and 9 month periods ended September 30th, 2022, the company's consolidated pre-tax results include the impact of $17.7 million and $19.4 million, respectively, associated with certain costs related to the investigation. That's a lot of fucking money. Now, it was pointed out that Vince was going to pay back a certain amount of money pursuant that wasn't covered by the insurance or something to that effect. The $19.4 million were the amounts of NDAs that Vince had paid out. What is the $17.7 million? The investigation fees? That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I don't know if that includes, if it's just the investigators or if they throw in like legal fees, with legal consultations and representation in here. And I don't know what 17.7 million, we don't have the detailed breakdown, the ventilated, departments of everything in that amount, but it's a lot of money for an investigation. I guess they wanted to make sure they got it right. Holy hell. That's a lot of money. So, moving forward here, I guess this is going to be the end of it, and they're being very careful in not saying, they didn't mention what the special committee found. They're not, bringing up any malfeasance or so on and so forth. They said we are going to work to implement the recommendations of the special committee. So it's not even a question of there will be further action taken against Vince. It's like, no, we're gonna see what the committee recommends, and we're gonna do our best to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Doop, 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 doop. Maybe this kind of ends with a bit of a wet fart. There's maybe still the possibility that this could that Vince's transgressions could head to court, civil court. I don't know. I don't know exactly how, but if so, that would mean some of the women, some of the people at least covered by the NDAs would have to come forward. They're expecting a very high fourth quarter as opposed to 2021, which could probably push them over the top for another $1 billion year. But we're going to have to see how the results turn out in January of 2022. We're going to go back to Friday Night Rampage over on the AEW side of things now, because, of course, the biggest event in pro wrestling happened at least for me, on Friday, when Katsuyori Shibata stepped into a wrestling ring and actually had a wrestling match against Orange Cassidy for the All Atlantic title. I am really, really happy with how it turned out. I'm glad to have seen him wrestle and to have gotten some moves and had some moves laid into him as well, And again, look, because here, the significance of this cannot be understated. I talked about it. I talked about it a little bit on the Rampage, not the Rampage, but the Dynamite review on Thursday. But this was Shibata's third wrestling match since returning. Since his injury in April 2017. His first being an exhibition match, a grappling exhibition match in October last year against Zack Sabre Jr. His second match being against Ren Narita at Wrestle Kingdom this year in January 2022. And here being the third. And just in case, I don't want to see, I don't want to give the impression, that everyone is top notch here, and understand. No, everyone here is top notch. I don't want to give the impression that everyone is up to speed on Katsuyori Shibata and so on and so forth, and especially why, for myself, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. That was cut short during a match in 2017. He had won the New Japan Cup and had a match with Kazuchika Okada, who was IWGP champion at the time. During the match, Shibata headbutted Okada really, really hard and finished the match. But when he got backstage, he was rushed to the hospital where an emergency procedure was taking place because he had a hematoma developing in his brain, which could have outright ended his life. New Japan doctors never cleared him since. They said he would never wrestle again. I'll buy it. There have been teases over the past, I'd say 3 years at this point. Gradually he's been dipping his toes back into wrestling. Again, the match with Zack Sabre Jr. was a 5-minute grappling exhibition match, not even an official one in that capacity. He wrestled Ren Narita, who is his star pupil as a young lion from the dojo system in New Japan. So he fought him, and again, he wasn't being dropped on his head or anything like that. He wasn't, but still, these are very, very significant steps. And here, I talked about it a lot on the Dynamite review and also on the Going Broadway show as well for members only. So if you want, my full thoughts and analysis of the situation, you can check that out. But this was nonetheless a special event. And you know what? Everyone was going around, and even myself, it hadn't really connected to me where you're like, hey, you know what? He's going to fight Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy can do the goof moves, and just they can play soft and so on and so on. I mean, it's Orange Cassidy, right? So, he can go soft. But then I suddenly, as the match is going on, I'm like, wait a second. There's a whole bunch of Orange Cassidy's offense that involves dropping guys on their head. He does DDTs all the time. He does flying DDTs. He does the satellite DDT. The fucking beach break. What are you talking about? Stun Dog Millionaire? He's not dropping him on his head, but he's he's yanking the neck. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay, I had forgotten about how potential and during the course of the match, our boy Shibata is eating a couple of these and a couple of backdrops and so on and so forth. So I'm like, okay, we're trying some stuff out here. I'm extremely worried throughout it all, but they did good. Everything seemed fine. Shibata walked out. There was even an interview with him this week, so he seems fine. Everything seems fine. So hopefully everything keeps going, with the same level of optimism that we have right now. Was this his greatest match of all time? Of course not. Of course not. Anyone who was expecting this to be like a 5-star banger is like, no, that's not exactly. That would have been an unreasonable expectation to put on everyone at this level. It was entertaining. I thought it was fun and had its really good moments. And isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that, you know, the wrestlers that we oftentimes consider to be like, no, they're super serious, these pure wrestlers, you know, because Shibata is, you know, he's a throwback to the Inoki style, right? That's his thing, where, you know, it's no showmanship, it's pure wrestling. It's, you know, we're tough guys, you know, the black trunks, the little black shooter boots, you know, but he's the kind of, but then he's the guy who comes out at Forbidden Door, the biggest pay-per-view of the year for AEW and New Japan, and he comes out and he challenges Orange Cassidy, and then he comes back to challenge Orange Cassidy. He's like, I want to challenge Orange Cassidy. Not unlike Minoru Suzuki, you know, it's like, yeah, I'll fight Orange. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I'd say that's interesting. It's like the you know, these dudes that we consider so rough and tumble, and it was like, no, this is sanctity. You know, Shibata is you know, he's on an upper plane. I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought they did well. Of course, we had Iron Mike Tyson on commentary. I called it. I called that this was going to be a disaster. I outright said it, that this is going to be a disaster. And it wasn't even close to being the disaster I thought it was going to be. Now, did he interject and speak over Excalibur when Excalibur's trying to get some storyline elements over? Sure, he did. But that's inexperience. He's not a play-by-play guy. But, you know, he comes out and he's talking about Orange Cassidy being beautiful. Look at it, this guy, he's just beautiful. And he seemed to know. He seemed to know who Shibata was. You know, and he fucking called an STO. I'm like, well, maybe he did a bit of research. Maybe he had someone, or him himself, you know. Maybe they just he and someone sat down and they got the principal bullet points down. He did good. Would I want Mike Tyson on commentary every week? Hell no. It's like I don't want JR in commentary every week. Like, and you know, I knew JR knew who this guy was because JR had done stints for English commentary for New Japan. So he'd seen Shibata wrestle. He knew what he was talking about, but, you know, JR is JR. What are you going to do? This match, it's quarter hour, scored the biggest quarter hour on Rampage on Friday. Of course, averaged 455,000 viewers and approximately 103,000 which is a 0.14 in the 18 to 49 demo. It's the highest 18 to 34 audience was the highest amount since April. So, you know, people keep telling me, you know, it's we don't know who this, these New Japan guys are. It's for nerds. Well, there you go. Shibata also this week, he mentioned that he wants another match. The other match he'd like to have is against Bryan Danielson, right? Wrestle Kingdom is coming around. It's, you know, it's starting to smolder. Like if this was it, if this was part of the deal, let's get Danielson in on this. Let's get this Full Gear season out of the way and see what happens. But if Danielson wants to go fight Shibata in the Dome for the new year, I'm completely for it. It's going to be amazing. One of the things also that is interesting to point out, just from Rampage last Friday, was Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter, right? Jamie Hayter and Britt had a tag team match. versus Sky Blue and Madison Rain, and that ended whatever. The important part is that after the match, you get Toni Storm coming out, and she's looking to pick a fight. She's looking to pick a fight, and the audience gets really excited for it. And this is the thing, right? This is something that here's what's really, really exciting is that when you get not excited. Let me say this again. The thing that Tony Khan likes to do is put two people in a ring and see what kind of reaction they get, right? And because he's one of those bookers that reacts to crowd noise, I know sometimes he doesn't react as fast as some people would like him to, but he does test out a lot. He does see, he looks over a couple of weeks. Like, you can't start super pushing someone if 1 week they come out and they have they get a huge reaction. It's not a good move as a booker to then be like, okay, well, now we got to push this person to the moon. You see if this, if the reactions persist, if that person keeps getting these good reactions in different environments, with different opponents, in different cities. This is how you test things out. And yeah, I get it. Sometimes it doesn't go as fast as we'd like Jamie Hayter to get pushed or Willow Nightingale to get pushed, so on and so forth. I get that. I completely understand that. But in the meantime, though, he's taking notes because we've seen this before. The Acclaimed is an excellent example of that. Ricky Starks is also an excellent example of that. FTR, regardless, of whatever friction that may or may not exist. Tony Khan cannot deny that FTR is one of the top 5 most over acts in the company right now. So all of this comes together. He tries stuff out. He sees Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter slug it out. People go ape shit. And he's like, okay. He says, I got something here, and I'm gonna hang on to that. I'm gonna make something special out of that. That's just how he does it. So the fact that they did get a good reaction as they were beating the tar out of each other, that's a good sign, people. We also had the announcement the World Title Eliminator Tournament, whose finals are going to happen at Full Gear 2022. The tournament starts this Wednesday, so tomorrow, as of the time that I'm recording this, starting off with Eddie Kingston versus Ethan Page in the first bracket. The second bracket on the same side is going to happen on a Rampage, Bandito versus Rush. Then we also have Lance Archer versus Ricky Starks and Brian Cage versus Dante Martin. So, very interesting choice of people. Very interesting that we're seeing a lot more Brian Cage on AEW programming. I'm going to say that right from the get-go. Someone who a lot of people were speculating that he was done, that he was going to be pushed out of the company, that he was not going to be renewed. Well, he didn't get renewed with AEW, but he is a Ring of Honor guy. And yet, over the past 2 or 3 weeks, he's been pretty heavily featured on AEW programming, of course, as part of the Ring of Honor stuff, but nonetheless, ending up on the main shows. So this is all very interesting. So this Wednesday, look, should a couple of predictions really quick here. Let's just happening. How I think things are going to go down. Eddie Kingston, Ethan Page. If it wasn't for the fact that they were starting to push Ethan Page, Ethan Page talking smack about Jon Moxley and all that stuff, I would have assumed that Eddie Kingston would go forward. But Ethan Page, like I said, they're clearly giving him some shine, making him be a little smash mouth talk towards the world champ right now. And Eddie Kingston is in this storyline where he's being a little irrational. His friends are trying to talk him down, saying, Eddie, you've been fired from everywhere else, Eddie. Think about your livelihood. Don't do you're your own worst enemy, Eddie. Be careful, kind of thing. And so I think that coupled with the idea that Eddie Kingston never wins the big one, I think he's not going to win this one yet, right? I don't think this is the one. I don't think this is the one that we lean into where Eddie Kingston win. Eddie Kingston eventually is going to win the big one because that is the long-term story with him. I think he is. He's going to get a big time win, despite the beating Jericho, so on, like for a title, for something to put in the history books, kind of thing. I think Ethan Page wins because of all those circumstances. If the Eddie Kingston story right now wasn't going on, I'd probably go with him. But Ethan Page feels like the safe bet. And we have Bandito and Rush. Bandito, apparently, the reports are coming out that he's agreed to sign to AEW. Like everything is pretty much settled. They just need to announce it, kind of thing. Why not? Why not have him go forward? Why not have him move forward? I think it would be pretty dope because I like Bandito's wrestling a lot more than I do Rush's. I'm not a big fan of Rush because I've seen a lot of his stuff, seen him in Ring of Honor, and he is one of those guys who, he works when he feels like it, and he doesn't quite, he's a guy who's still, working to perfect the art of selling. I'm not a fan of Rush. And I know a lot of people are really, really, super excited and look, he's been working hard to his credit, but he's got a new boss that he has to impress, right? But Rush is legitimately the kind of guy that once he starts getting shit his way and that he's in a position where he has the higher ground, he's going to give a proportionate amount of effort. I would like Bandito to go over, and I would like to see Ethan Page versus Bandito. I think that would be a fun match. But ultimately, I think Ethan Page wins the semifinals. Wins the semifinals and goes to the finals at Full Gear, regardless of whether it's Bandito or Rush who move forward. Lance Archer then takes on Ricky Starks for that bracket. It is unquestionably Ricky Starks with the promo that he cut on Friday. But not only that, Lance Archer is heading off to Japan to participate in World Tag League with Minoru Suzuki. Period. Point. We're done. Let's move on. And then we have Dante Martin and Brian Cage. I think Brian Cage will move forward because I think, you get babyface Ricky Starks against Brian Cage, the Machine, the huge monster human, who could just squash him in a second. Ricky could have one of these great, come from behind babyface wins here. I think Brian Cage and Ricky Starks go to the semifinals, but the semifinal winner is Ricky Starks, and I think we're getting Ethan Page versus Ricky Starks at Full Gear. And this will have to be the match where finally, everyone is just going to come around and stop complaining as, where is Ethan Page? Where is Ricky Starks? They're going to have a full-blown pay-per-view match with world title implications. I hope this tempers everyone's expectations moving forward. Oh, they're misusing them. I love the idea of saying, the idea of misusing a wrestler is something that happens in wrestling. But just because one of your favorites isn't on every week doesn't mean he's being misused. Doesn't mean they don't have plans for him. As we've learned, Ricky Starks was away for personal reasons, whatever reasons they were. Now he's back, and look at what our boy TK is doing. He's pushing him. How long have we been saying Ricky Starks is the guy? He is world championship material. That's his ceiling. Regardless of what happens at Full Gear, whether he wins or Ricky Starks is not the next AEW world champion, okay? He might challenge for it, but it's going to take a while before he gets it. And you know why? Because that's how you build a star. That's just how it happens. They don't have to do a 24-month storyline like they did with Adam Page. But they can take their sweet ass time to make the Ricky Starks win feel meaningful. This is not it. It would not feel pulling the trigger on Ricky Starks right now would be a mistake. It would be WWE booking. Oh, we're giving him a push. We have to put a title on him. You don't have to put a title on a wrestler to push them. You don't. I think he wins at Full Gear. We'll see how the next few shows develop, because the show's in 2 weeks. But we'll see how the next few shows develop. But at this point here, Ricky Starks, he's great. And he's just going to keep growing, and he's going to keep getting better. And you know what? No one saw the Acclaim coming, but that's exactly what the Acclaim did. Slowly building, getting fan support. Real, organic fan support. Not fan support like, hey, this is the guy we want you to cheer for. This is how it works in AEW, if you've been paying attention. So my prediction, finals at Full Gear, Ethan Page, Ricky Starks, and I think Ricky Starks win. I said we were going to talk a lot about news, and I haven't talked about it at all yet, but one quick detail. The Young Bucks trademarking the Wayward Sons is something that popped up this week. It was reported. I think it was the Observer. Look, I've got the Observer article here. I'm going to read it off. A new trademark filing, on Figure 4 Online, right? A new trademark filing was made by the Young Bucks last week. On November 3rd, the Young Bucks company, Killing the Business Inc., applied to trademark the term the Wayward Sons. There was a Being the Elite episode in April 2021 where, before a 10-man tag match at AEW's The House Always Wins live event, the Young Bucks said in a perfect world they'd be coming out to Carry On Wayward Son, by Kansas, but they weren't able to get it done for the show. I think this is interesting. And I think it fits in what we're all speculating, what we've been speculating since the disappearing gimmick video, that the Young Bucks, the Elite, are going to return, but not reference themselves as the Elite. Something else. They are changing their identity. I think that's what they're going to do. And maybe this Wayward Sons thing is going to be a part of it. And there's, I'm interested to see the story behind it, because of course, the Wayward Son is the tale of it. The yarn is, a man's son goes off into the world and follows different types of aspirations that his father had laid out for him, and maybe goes down a dark path, but returns home, to his father, who consoles him. Is like, welcome back, son. You're back home, kind of thing. Home is all. That's essentially it. So, I'm curious to see how this ties into how the Elite, Omega and the Bucks, are going to present themselves moving forward. That I can't tell. But I think this is really part of it. I really think this is part of the big change for these folks here. These folks here being the Young Bucks, Wayward Sons. I think it's part of their rebrand. New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's a whole bunch of events that happen. There's a lot of happenings in New Japan over the past couple of days, including a press conference for the historic crossover event, which is going to be the very first New Japan Stardom show, which is going to be in 2 weeks, November 20, if I'm not mistaken. They had a press conference. They were announcing the matches, so on and so forth. I'm not going to preview it now. I'm going to preview it when we're closer to the date, but that's, one thing amongst tons of things that were happening. But we are going to start by reviewing New Japan Battle Autumn 2022 that happened on November 5th at the Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium in Osaka, Japan, which is called the Aidan Arena or something. I don't know. Osaka Prefectural Gymnasium. For just a tad over 4,000 people were packed in to watch this show. A show which I consider to be one of my top 5 wrestling shows of the year. I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good. Great main event. Nothing on the card sucked. Nothing took, even the things that had the potential to suck did not. Even when there were matches announced that turned out to be something else, it didn't suck. Everything connected. Everything worked. And the show opened up hot with a strong IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title defense, where Francesco Akira and TJP successfully retained their titles against Bushi and Titan. Just a strong match to start things off. And you know what? TJP and Akira are really coming together as a tag team. Sure, they're on the same faction, 2 guys thrown together into a tag team, but every time they're out there, they're bringing in new offense, doing great stuff, real strong, fast, compelling offense on top of that. The champs retain with their finisher. Out the gate, as far as a curtain jerker goes, this more than over delivered. This was great. It was a very, very, very good match to open up a show, to the degree where you're worried where the rest of the show is going to be able to deliver or not. Thankfully, spoiler alert, it did. This was great. I still don't know what Titan's role is exactly in LIJ, since he invited himself to join LIJ. You know what I'm saying? Because Bushi is still taking pins for the crew. And I thought they'd bring in the new guy, right? And the new guy, lies down. The new guy takes the pins. But no, poor Bushi. Still the guy. I don't know. Maybe, could this lead to Titan attacking Bushi and they're not really friends and Titan just wanted to screw with, I don't know. Then we had an 8-man tag match where Aaron Henare, Aussie Open, and Gideon Gray, Lord Gideon Gray, defeated the team of Alex Zane, David Finlay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Toru Yano. It was a fun little match. Aaron Henare got some great exchanges with Zane and Finlay as well. Aussie Open do their trading stalling suplex, where they pass the stalling suplex over to the other guy. That was great. Hiroshi Tanahashi cleans house on a hot tag. Aussie Open lands the Coriolis for the win. They landed on Toru Yano. A fine match, was fun, was all right. Let's move on. Hikuleo defeated Yujiro Takahashi, who was the replacement for Carl Anderson. This is all tied in to the Carl Anderson stuff, right? So when all the Carl Anderson stuff happened, right? When it all came together and they moved on to this match, I thought this was such a downgrade because Yujiro is kind of boring. Yujiro is kind of not a compelling wrestler. So, when this was announced, I was like, oh, Christ. But this is a work, right? Like, this is a work. So I was like, okay, they're trying to make the best out of a bad situation, because we have to underscore here this, in case anyone is still wondering, in case anyone is still still trying to connect the push pins with yarn on their wall behind them or so on. Carl Anderson was not working, was working in New Japan without a contract. Okay, they didn't sign him. He was working without a contract. New Japan knew that he was negotiating with WWE. Okay, despite the fact that he was working Japan, the fact that he didn't have a contract allowed him to negotiate. And he told the office, Carl Anderson told the office, I am currently in talks with WWE. New Japan said, okie dokie. And the key element here, this is the one that's crucial. This is the one that, that still doesn't quite seem to get, into the brains of some folk who still think that Carl Anderson is some, heartless mercenary. New Japan, the office, New Japan Pro Wrestling knew Carl Anderson was going to be in Saudi Arabia before they announced the Osaka show. So they announced the Osaka show with Carl Anderson versus Hikuleo for the never open weight title, despite already knowing that Anderson was going to be in Saudi Arabia. So this is all a work. And I talk about it more behind the paywall for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channels. To become a member, I talk about it more on last week's Going Broadway. So this is all happening. This is all a work. So when I start watching this match, I tweet out. I tweet out and I say, look, if I'm booking this match, Hikuleo should squash Yujiro Takahashi in 3 minutes. That's what I tweeted out. Guess what happened? Hikuleo squashed Yujiro in 3 minutes. So this is turning out to be even better for Hikuleo than just fighting Carl Anderson in a one-off, or worst case scenario, Carl Anderson being stripped of the title and then Hikuleo having to deal with the vacancy and so on and so forth. Right? So it's turning out to be a better thing for him because they're making a storyline out of it, because it's becoming a thing. Because now Hikuleo looks like he's on a mission. He's ready to destroy Carl Anderson, and he's calling Carl Anderson out on promos in the ring. He did it a couple of weeks ago. Promos backstage. Twitter. He's calling Carl Anderson a coward. You're ducking me. You can't face me. You're afraid to face me. So ultimately, the winner out of all of this, the guy who is going to win the never open weight title, Hikuleo, is getting a lot of rub off of all of this. And look, he even fought off Show from House of Torture. In this match, he fought off 2 guys by himself. Nobody has been this interested in the never open weight title. This has been smart throughout. Like I said, though, bears repeating, the only dummies in this situation is New Japan for putting a title on a guy who's not contracted to them. That's that's ultimately the misstep here. But Carl Anderson is he's doing his thing. He's putting over the match, putting over the fact that the bright lights gimmick. I only wrestle when the lights are brightest, whatever. In the meantime, Hikuleo getting a lot of goodwill. This is the best possible outcome. Still, crossing our fingers that WWE will let Carl Anderson go and do the match. This is the best possible outcome because Hikuleo will be a hero. We're all going to know what the outcome is going to be, but Hikuleo will come out of this program a hero. Just as simple as that. So the kid is benefiting. Carl Anderson's going to put him over. Carl Anderson is already putting him over. Now the question is, when is this going to happen? When are they going to do the match? Well, at this point, I'd do it in the Dome. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, no, don't do that. But I'd do it in the Dome. Like, they probably don't have anything bigger planned for the Never title this year, right? Until the end of the year is what I'm talking about. Because whatever date is set, it's going to be that one. It's going to be that date. Because then if Carl Anderson can't make it, then he's going to get stripped. Like, this is the worst case. Look, the worst case scenario at this point is that we don't truly get a resolution. That WWE decides that Carl Anderson is not going to honor the dates, and we don't get a proper resolution to this. That's the worst case scenario, because then all of this is going to feel extremely flat and a bit of a waste of time, of everyone's time. Because we're all working under the assumption that New Japan and WWE are going to come to an arrangement, and they're going to let Carl Anderson do his show and drop the title, which is completely to WWE's interest to do, quite frankly. This is absolutely what they should do. But you never know what can happen. Wrestling's weird, and so is World Wrestling Entertainment. So they could just like turn around and be like, no, you know what? This match, you're not going to do it. So that's the worst case scenario. But honestly, the way this is developing, the way this is going, I would absolutely put this on the Dome. In the Dome, not on top, inside. It feels big enough. It has a story. It has compelling stakes. There's a grudge attached to it. There's backstage politicking. Like, there's something for everyone, from the smart fan to the casual. Let's go. Put this in the Dome. Not like second from the main event. Nothing like that. It's a nice little mid-card match that has stakes that'll get people excited. Put it, it's a nice little feel-good match that'll get the crowd excited, and you put it after, you put it just before or just after a heel wins a big match, and you get the crowd back into it. I think this works. You could do that there. Or you do it on the final night of World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League shows. You do it on the final night. That might be a thing. Because then you also have the Road to Tokyo Dome shows. Road to the Tokyo Dome shows, which are just before Wrestle Kingdom, and these are going to be your run of the mill, your standard Road 2 shows. So they usually don't. They're not going to put big matches, I don't think, there. At this point, that'd be whatever date they decide to do is going to be that. Go for it. But personally, at this point, if everyone agrees, I'd put it on the Dome. In the Dome, Warren, not on top. Then we had the one of the two New Japan World Television Title Tournament semifinals. The first one had Ren Narita defeating Sanada. I thought this was a really good match between these two guys here. And I was a little anxious about it. I was anxious because I wasn't sure how much they were going to how much faith they had in Ren Narita to make him go forward, and Sanada's a little hit and miss. So this one goes off really but we turned out to get a really good match between these two here. Lots of grappling, very cautious grappling to start. We get the Paradise Lock out of the way early enough. Narita eats a pile driver on the floor. When we were back in the ring, Narita lands a suplex with a bridge, then rolls into an armbar, which was just fantastic stuff. Sanada does the moonsault into the skull end, and he drops onto his back like he often does to lock in to get Narita into a body scissors, but Narita uses the momentum of the fall to backflip out of it. And I'm like, holy shit, this kid has it. He gets it. This is great. Great reversal, chain wrestling with a skull end ending into an O'Connor roll. Just great stuff. Sanada goes for the moonsault. Narita lifts the legs. Narita does a T-bone suplex into a bridge. They trade enziguris. Sanada runs into a discus lariat, but Narita grabs the arm fluidly within the spin of the discus into a belly-to-belly overhead suplex with the bridge for the win. Ren Narita moves forward, and I could not have been more happy. This is a very solid match. Super well wrestled. Years above what Sanada did with Kenta in the second round of the tournament. This was a lot of fun. This was a very good, very, very good wrestling match. Then we get to Zack Sabre Jr., the second semifinal match, defeating Evil. And I was dreading this match. I was dreading this match because House of Torture, right? Because of all the House of Torture nonsense. But this match, what it continued to do was press on the character, the character trait that Zack Sabre Jr. has, that he is the smartest wrestler in the room. You know, this is the guy who's doing backstage comments, and he's, you know, at the press conference after a New Japan show, and he's saying, why are people standing around waiting for people to jump on them? Just move, right? And you're like, yeah, he's the logical wrestler. He's the thinking man's wrestler. So this is a guy who doesn't understand, like who understands when things aren't going to go his way. He's able to plan out. So he looks at this and he's like, look, I'm not getting a match out of Evil. I know how these things go. I watch the tape. I'm hired by this company. I know how things work. I know that Evil is going to do whatever the hell he needs to do. So I might as well do what I did at the G1 against Evil and try to sneak one out of him. Make it happen again. And he did. Basically, because he knows there's no way he's wrestling against Evil. And that's what Zack Sabre Jr. does. He wrestles. So why try? So he has, first of all, I think it's Oiwa. He has him cut a promo backstage to open up the match, where the wrestlers are supposed to cut the promo themselves, right? But he has Oiwa, who doesn't speak English. Junior's behind the camera, and he's feeding him lines. And you clearly hear Zack Sabre Jr. feeding him lines, and Oiwa is sort of looking up and then looking back down and just a glorious promo. So then he has the young lions young lions dress up as him, which is what he did at the G1 against Evil. So come out with the hat, but you know, clearly it's not him. I think it's Nakashima. He got dressed up. Anyway, the young lions take care of Dick Togo. They have a short match that ends with a ground cobra. Zack Sabre Jr. celebrates with the young lions. Jesus, my hero, my fucking hero, that kept me from sitting through an Evil match. Just great stuff. See, this is oftentimes when people tell me, you know, there's no story. So look, all of the story was told in the confines of this match. We didn't need weeks of build because we watched the product. We know who these wrestlers are. We understand who they are. And Zack Sabre Jr. comes out and is like, look, I'm not getting a wrestling match out of this doofus. So I'm going to play his game and I'm going to play it better. So Zack wins. Tournament wrestler Zack Sabre Jr. picks up another win in another tournament. I mean, there was no match to speak of here. There's nothing to break down. It was all Zack and the Young Lions countering the House of Torture. The House of Torture doing whatever they could to try and get a win, but they can't because Zack is 2 steps ahead of them. So, you know, as far as booking goes, the thing is that eventually Evil is going to get his revenge, right? Zack Sabre Jr. is going to get his comeuppance for all of this, which kind of stinks. But I haven't talked really about the New Japan TV title tournament. I wanted to talk about it last week, but I was kind of ill. But if anything, I can do a bit of a recap here, a little breakdown. We'll take a little aside here from Battle Autumn to talk about the world title tournament. Anyway, the finals are set. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ren Narita at the Tokyo Dome. Second year in a row for Ren Narita to have a match in the Tokyo Dome. If you think this kid isn't a prospect for New Japan, if they don't have faith in him, this should clarify a lot of things. And I'm glad we're getting this. I'm glad we're going down this path. And I'm excited at the thought of this match because it is going to be very good. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to do some magic, and Ren Narita he's got the perfect ring general in there with him. Should anything happen, he's got the perfect security blanket in Zack Sabre Jr. It's just great. It's going to be a very good match. I would like to see Ren Narita win this because, as we may recall when this tournament was announced, the New Japan Brass said that they wanted this tournament to be they wanted this title to represent the youth of the company, the youth fast-paced action, the starting point for creating new stars and opening up the world to New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? By having these young athletic men, good-looking, young, athletic, doing. And then you look at who they put into the tournament. They have, Yoshinobu Kanemaru. They have Yoshihashi. You got Tomohiro Ishii. All guys that are in their fucking 40s. It's like, what are we doing here? But clearly, Narita has the favor of the office here. And maybe this is going to be the way to go. Look, I understand why they put some of the bigger names in here, established names who aren't young upstarts, because, if the tournament is just made up of young lions or, first year rookies, and it doesn't have that same kind of appeal. Now, Ren Narita will be able to look back on this and say, I defeated Tomohiro Ishii, I defeated Toru Yano, even though it's Tang, and I defeated Sonata to get to where I am. Those are significant notches to one's belt. So I understand the booking. Still a little strange that there weren't more young guys or more young guys moving forward, like Aaron Henare, for instance. But as far as the tournament in and about itself, with the matches and the story, and so on and so on, I thought most of the first round matches were fun to great. I don't think there's a match there that was, maybe the Yano match, which is, Toru Yano and Great O'Khan, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. But the standout match from the first round is Ren Narita versus Tomohiro Ishii. Just an absolutely fantastic match. It ruled. It was great. Just strong style, New Japan war of two guys just beating the hell out of each other. Huge heavy strikes, suplexes, throws. And Ren Narita was a beast in this match, taking on Tomohiro Ishii, who is no slouch in these situations, doesn't take any shit from anyone. This match made you realize that Narita could be the guy. That if they wanted this belt to be carried by new blood, by a guy who exemplifies values of strong style in New Japan, that is supposed to be the throwback, because that's the idea. He's the throwback wrestler. That's his shtick. The son of strong style. They're not just pulling this out of their ass. You look at this match, you're like, well, there you go. There's your guy. Ren Narita, right there. Defeating stalwart mastodon Tomohiro Ishii, who made him look like $1 million, because of course Tomohiro Ishii is the MVP of so many people's careers. There were some really weird booking decisions in round one. like I said, Hinare not advancing while, Yoshihashi, 46-year-old Yoshihashi does. But listen, seek this match out. Ren Narita, Tomohiro Ishii, look, it's available for free. That's the gimmick with the TV title matches, right? These matches here and the title defenses once we do get a champion. All of these matches are available for free. You don't have to go to some weird website to watch it. You don't have to torrent it. You don't have to. You don't have to go to. You don't have to go to Daily Motion and look for 480p resolution and watch a 480p resolution. Nothing of that. Nothing of that. Go to New Japan World. They said it's on their YouTube as well. It's really, really easy to get there. It's excellent. In the first round, I also thought Sanada and Tai Chi was very good too. These guys have excellent chemistry with each other. Just a great match that really made you, bite your fingernails till the wondering if we were going to get to the 15-minute mark. Dave Finlay versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru, also in round 1, also very good. The second round matches, stunk. They stunk. And this is what's frustrating with New Japan tournaments sometimes. And this was a talking point of my G1 coverage this year. And here we are again. This is a tournament. We're supposed to be getting nail-biting, action-packed matches. We get Narita and Yano, which is a thing that just happened. It's a Yano match with very little in the way of real action or drama. And then Sanada and Kenta, well, neither guy wanted to work. So what we got was a match that has that generates the cardinal sin of any form of entertainment. Wrestling, movies, music. It was boring. I don't know what to tell you. You can completely skip the second round matches. They stunk. One thing that I found interesting was having Kenta going over Sanada, right, in the second round would have been, that's what I was expecting, because I thought there was a really good story there because of Kenta and Ren Narita's shared connection with Katsuyori Shibata, right? Kenta's history with Shibata, Narita being his protege. That would have been a nice little drama beat for the semifinals, right? But look, we avoided it, but that story will nonetheless still be there. It's still there. Kenta's still wrestling. He's still got unfinished beef with Shibata. And Narita, there, you could argue that he's going to be Shibata by proxy, right? I mean, look, because he wrestles like him, he dresses like him, but again, it's not like Shibata's wrestling gear is so unique. Like I talked about earlier when I was talking about Shibata on Rampage. The shooter boots, the black trunks, that's par for the course for the throwback to strong style, right? So, but there is that connection. So that could have been, it's still there. It's still there. That story is still there to be told, despite the fact we didn't get it here. And that's all right, because like I said, Sanada, Narita, I thought was a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. Let's move on to some more New Japan. Hey, listen. Okay, so full context for anyone who's not full context for anyone who's not necessarily up to speed here. There right up until this point, there were 2 official matches for Wrestle Kingdom that were made. The main event, Jay White, Kazuchika Okada, and a 4-way match for the junior heavyweight title, champion Taiji Ishimori, defending against Hiromu Takahashi, Master Wato, and El Desperado. what do the geniuses at New Japan do on this tour at Battle Autumn? They decide to put these 4 guys into a tag team match. So literally, what did they call it? They called it the impossible match, right? But those of us in North America can use our more, our more common vernacular for this type of match, which was a can they coexist tag team match, right? All 4 guys hate each other, but they're going to be tag teams. Can they coexist? And I'm going to tell you, this was the greatest can they coexist tag team match of all time. There is nothing that comes even close to this. I promise you, I groaned when I saw this. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But it turns out that everything that you expect from a can they coexist tag team match happened. Everything that makes sense happened. It's not like, can they pull together to win the match? No, these guys don't like each other. They are opponents to win the top prize of their division in the biggest venue of their country. They're not going to get along for one night for the pure entertainment purpose. They hate each other. Ishimori didn't want to get any reps in because he's the champ. So what happens? Hiromu Takahashi, who is his partner, eats the offense of the opposing team for the majority of the match because Ishimori's not tagging in. He's not even extending his hand. He's walking all the way to the other side of the apron. He doesn't care. Why would he? This is all to his advantage. He's like, maybe one of these guys is going to get hurt. Hey, you know what? If I can get Takahashi to get hurt, I won't put in the effort to try and save him, kind of thing. And Wato and Desperado, they just hate each other. They're slapping each other. They're striking each other to tag in. It's fantastic. There's tension throughout this entire match. None of the usual bullshit, because you know how this happens with WWE. The opponents on the same team, suddenly they seem to gel, but then one guy accidentally strikes the other guy, and that makes the other guy, man, it's like, what the hell, man? And then they start throwing hands, and then it falls apart, or it ends in a DQ, or one guy leaves the ring to let the other guy get pinned. Just one thing that happens, and that's the thing. But no, they all hate each other. They don't give a fuck. And au contraire, what this match builds to, as opposed to building to the moment where the teams fall apart, it builds to the moment where the teams start working together. Where Desperado and Wato have these moments of double teaming on the other guys. And the same with Ishimori and Takahashi, where all of a sudden they're working together in the final third, and speed starts to pick up until Takahashi lifts up Wato for a time bomb too, but Ishimori runs in with a jumping knee strike on Hiromu. Wato falls on top of Hiromu for the pinfall win. Great stuff. Everything made sense. Everything made sense. And the other guys, they have their formula that everyone groans at because it's always the same thing. If you want to see something absolutely refreshing, something that you're like, this is what every Can You Coexist match should be like. People not getting along. Who cares about winning? I just don't like you because we have a singles match coming up, right? But in the other company, in WWE, it's like alpha males, right? They always have to, it's all superstars. They don't wrestle for the money. They don't wrestle for the glory. They wrestle because, they have something to prove, because they're wrestlers, because, larger than life, what, all this stupid mythological bullshit that keeps you from creating connections, right? I was connected to this match. I was sucked all the way in. Just great stuff all around. And yes, from Master Wato too. I think he's been doing good in this. He was fantastic in this match. Highly recommended. I highly recommend this match. And we had a bit of a cool down match, odd to say, because it includes Kazuchika Okada and Jay White. But nonetheless, the other match was really, really hot. But we went to intermission, we came back. Kazuchika Okada and Tama Tonga defeated Jay White and Kenta. This match, of course, continues to set up the White Okada match for Wrestle Kingdom. And they're leaning hard. And when I say they, I mean commentary, New Japan. They're leaning really, really hard on Jay White's overall winning record on Kazuchika Okada. They're really underscoring this quite a bit. Kenta seemed like he was in the mood to work. Much more against Sanada a couple of nights ago. So, but the story also here, is Tama Tonga's continued babyface push. He had a great exchange with Kenta and Jay White as they try to double team him. He's really fired up in this match. And I still think, and I will continue to hammer this home, the babyface move was a good one for him. I think he's leaning more. He's leaning more and more into it. He's becoming more comfortable in the babyface role. And it's showing. He and Kenta have a really good exchange in the final third of this match. Busaiku knees and Tongan twists. Tama Tonga lands the Supreme Flow. Kenta kicks out. Goes for a gun stun. Kenta blocks it. He goes for a GTS. Tama Tonga reverses it. Kenta then strikes him down, runs the ropes, but Tama Tonga is right back up with a gun stun. Mwah. Just mwah. Brilliant stuff. Great finish. Love the finish. Love this finish. So Okada was holding back, Jay White in the meantime for the gun stun thing is what I'm trying to say here. A good showing for Tama Tonga. You can tell that the company they want to get behind this baby face push. I'm behind it. I want it to work. I want it to go. We're going up into the main event strata here. Second from the top, IWGP Tag Team title match. FTR, debuting in Japan, defeated the United Empire team of Great-O-Khan and Jeff Cobb. Was the semi-main event, and it ruled. Chalk up another fantastic wrestling match for Cash and Dax. The United Empire boys were set up as number one contenders for this match here. They never really lost their titles at Forbidden Door, as FTR pinned Rocky Romero in the three-way tag match to gain the IWGP title. So this match in and about itself was to consolidate the fact that, yes, FTR could have beaten the United Empire, the champs at the time, for the titles. This was sort of to get that speculation out of the way. Bragging rights, if you wish. And we get some great strength exchanges between Dax and Great-O-Khan early on. Cash Wheeler, who in some respects seems to have fallen into Dax's shadow a little bit, especially because of Dax's, singles run that he was doing in AEW, and Dax being so vocal and clear, the face, the talker of the company. Dax, I found over the past couple of matches, he's been assuming a larger presence in the ring. He's been taking over a little more, and I think it's great. He gets a great hot tag in this match here. Dax is the babyface in peril for quite a bit, and he plants Great-O-Khan with a DDT. He hits a big German suplex on Cobb as well. Later on, Cobb goes for the deadlift German suplex on the second rope, but gets worked into a doomsday device by FTR. Dax and Great-O-Khan go at it again. Lariats. Nobody's going down. STO by Great-O-Khan. Pescado by Cash on the floor, but he's caught by Jeff Cobb, who hot shots Cash over the barricade. We get some really great drama from this point on here in the match, really heading into the final third, and we're hitting a fourth gear here. FTR hit the superplex splash combo. Cobb goes for the short arm tour of the islands, but it's broken up by a chop block. Great double team offense here. Great O'Khan comes in, cleans house, but a big rig puts Great O'Khan away. This is seemingly, so this is seemingly setting everything up as well for the Tokyo Dome, right? We're going to talk about World Tag League in a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, the FTR is going to be at the Dome to defend their titles against the winner of World Tag League. But this match in and about itself was absolutely fantastic. Such strong wrestling again, and just great drama throughout. And I think these four guys work really, really well together as well. I enjoyed this match tremendously. It's not FTR and the Briscoes. It's not FTR and Young Bucks. It's not FTR and Aussie Open. But it's a damn solid wrestling match. Good fucking wrestling. And that's what I want. That's all I want. You want to talk about some good fucking wrestling? Let's wrap this up with the main event. IWGP United States Heavyweight title match. Will Ospreay, the champion, successfully retained against Tetsuya Naito. This was a hell of a main event. And it starts off fast with Ospreay going straight in after Naito, and they both do the tranquilo thing, and Naito slows things down, because he wants to work his pace. He knows if he goes too fast, it advantages Ospreay at this point. Naito lands a beautiful hip toss backbreaker, and this sets up the story of the match, which is Will Ospreay's neck. What does Tetsuya Naito do throughout this match? He cranks the neck, and he works the neck real hard. They fight on the floor. There's back and forth. Will Ospreay tries to get in control, but Naito is always going back to the neck. He gets a vicious hangman neck breaker, reverse neck breaker on Ospreay, then followed by the double leg Nelson. Like he just wants to tear the head off of Ospreay. It's vicious shit. Ospreay fights out, tries to strike back, but there's no ref. But there's no oomph. Excuse me, not ref. But there's no oomph to his strikes. He's just trying to get in there, but he can't. Naito replies with vicious forearms, again, to the back of the neck. We get some counter wrestling by both as they try to do what they can to stay on top of things, and then we get an Os cutter. It's blocked by Naito and countered into another hanging neck breaker. But he's not done. He drags him over the apron, off the floor, lands another reverse hanging neck cutter. He lands a reverse cutter on the floor. Like just crazy shit. Then he tries to do another one on Ospreay over the rails, but Ospreay reverses and Os cutters off the rail in a desperation move. Just great stuff. Back in the ring, Ospreay interrupts a Rana, but Naito plants him with an avalanche poison Rana. But Ospreay lands on his feet and hits an Os cutter. Can't quite get the pin though. Ospreay climbs to the second rope with Naito on his shoulders, but Naito on the shoulders, as they're all on the, just flips around and hits a huge Frankensteiner. Then hits a huge Esperanza. Then Destino is reversed by a kick. Then he goes for the fast Destino, covers. Ospreay kicks out. Then the proper Destino is reversed into a Stormbreaker, in which Naito reverses into a sit-out powerbomb. Ospreay hits a hidden blade right to Tetsuya Naito's face, then hits a hidden blade proper, then goes for the Stormbreaker, connects, covers. It's done. What a fantastic main event. I know I goofed up a couple of times here on the play-by-play, but Jesus, that was good. Just a fantastic main event. Once again, Will Ospreay. I mean, we're talking about FTR, you know, once again, FTR. Once again, Will Ospreay just nails another notch on his belt. This match was absolutely fantastic. Anyone who wants to add this on their match of the year list is completely okay with. That's absolutely fine. And it just adds another layer to the argument for Will Ospreay as Wrestler of the Year. This was extraordinary. Naito carried his own, don't get me wrong. But this is what happens again, you know, the two top level, prime time, world class legends going at it. I was going to say in their prime, but Naito's not exactly in his prime anymore, but he can still fucking deliver. And Will Ospreay, this is a career year for him. He has been nothing but excellent every time he goes out, and he never stumbles. He always delivers. This is always the big match. You put Ospreay in it, and it's going to deliver. This was excellent. Excellent pro wrestling. Great drama. 3-4 gears. Just great shit. More than highly recommended. You need to see this match. After the match, Will Ospreay makes an open challenge for the U.S. title. And it is answered by Shota Umino. Excuse me. Roughneck Shota Umino. That's his new nickname. No longer is he the shooter. He is the Roughneck Shota Umino. And here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, we will continue to refer to Shota Umino with his given name, the one given to him by his father. He will be, his real dad, not Red Shoes Umino, his real dad, John Moxley. He will continue to be referred to by his given name, Shooter Shota Umino, Roughneck. I'm sure people in the office thought it sounded like it probably sounds really cool to Japanese ears, right? That's probably does. And they're probably like a Roughneck. But no, it's kind of bad. I'm not a fan. But I'm a fan of Shota Umino. And he comes to the ring to accept the challenge by attacking Will Ospreay. And he flees before the United Empire can take him out. He came to the ring looking like an absolute star. So here's what's going on. New Japan is clearly leaning into its younger guys now. You got Ren Narita coming up with the TV title right at his fingertips at Wrestle Kingdom, and now Shota's back, and they are two very charismatic, good-looking, great wrestlers on top of that. Again, which is something that New Japan wants. They want to be able to get younger people into the promotion faster because the dojo system produces extraordinary pro wrestlers, but it's a long process. They'd like to accelerate it a little bit, and they want this breath of fresh air because there's a lot of 40 plus wrestlers on the roster nonetheless, which is a lot of them can still go. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Hiroshi Tanahashi to this day, and Yoshihashi and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and they're all fine wrestlers, but you do have to think about your future. You do have to plan and get the younger guys who are going to carry this promotion as we keep moving forward, right? If only to feed more guys to Okada. Shota is fantastic. He's had a great excursion, so he's back from his excursion. Ren Narita is back as well, but Shota being back is great. And he and Will Ospreay had a match at Royal Quest 2 a couple of weeks ago, about not quite a month ago at this point. They had a match together, which I thought was pretty good. But I was like, wait, I feel like they're holding back. I feel like there's another one in the chamber here. And there we go. This is the other one in the chamber. They're going to be fighting each other at Historic Crossover, which I am excited for. So, I mean, look, I absolutely believe that we are going to be seeing more and more of Will Ospreay. And, well, yes, we're going to see more and more of Will Ospreay, but we're going to be seeing more and more of Shota Umino, who is, he's got his character down. He's got his confidence. He has grown so much when it comes to his in-ring presence and commanding the audience. And he was in the crowd, still taking some cues from Jon Moxley, going into the audience to celebrate and stuff like that. You're like, not a lot of guys in New Japan do that. Is this what we're going, is Shota going to be like this combination of Hiroshi Tanahashi and Jon Moxley? What are we, what kind of amalgamation are we going to get here? And it's all very interesting. Look, I think Ospreay's going to retain the U.S. title. If you wanted to put the title on Umino, the U.S. title on Umino, it would make a lot of sense nonetheless because he's over in the U.S. People know who he is. Because of the Jon Moxley rub, everyone knows who Shota Umino is. So it wouldn't be that big of a step to have him be the U.S. champion and come do some New Japan of America shows here. That's absolutely fine. Especially since, I think that at some point you want Will Ospreay back into your world title picture as well. So all of this is fine. I think this was good. Look, this entire show comes with a strong recommendation on my part. NJPW Battle Autumn 2022, you should check it out because you probably like pro wrestling a lot. And that's what you'll get here. Minimal nonsense, good times, great wrestling, sprinkled with just fun. Top to bottom, a great show. And since we're on the topic of New Japan Pro Wrestling, earlier this week it was announced. Well, the teams were announced for New Japan Pro Wrestling's World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League, which is going to be starting on Monday, November 21st and concluding on December 14. It is a Wednesday. And here are the teams that we have for World Tag League. Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toru Yano. We have the Bishamon team, which is Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi, a team that a legitimate tag team that have wrestled together multiple times. LIJ is going to be represented by Tetsuya Naito and Sanada. The United Empire is going to be represented by Great Okan and Aaron Hanare, which is a little strange. But there's a rumor going around that Jeff Cobb got injured during the FTR match, which kind of stinks because I would have thought that United Empire would win World Tag League this year. Aaron Hanare kind of throws things into the air a little bit, but this is a good, big, strong team of big, strong lads. We've got Aussie Open as well. And the return of the tag team TMDK, the Mighty Don't Kneel, the OGs, Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste, which are returning together as a tag team that we haven't seen together since NXT a couple of years ago. So as they said, don't call it a comeback. But this is exciting because Nichols and Haste are a fantastic tag team and just a great tag team. I'm excited to see if they still gel as much as they did back in the day. Suzuki-gun is going to be represented by Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer, who's going to be doing the tournament with his mentor. Bullet Club is going to be represented by Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. This could hit the bricks. I understand that Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens are a tag team. They're considered a tag team, but this shit can hit the bricks. This is what I've been talking. This is, and then House of Torture, Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. Like, here's the thing. This connects with my main criticism in the G1 that developed over the course of the G1, right? Where I started the tournament and we had people like Bad Luck Fale in the tournament. And I'm like, why are these, well, we need these people in the tournament so that they can take the pins from other wrestlers, right? So that they can eat the pins, they can take the losses, and it's no skin off of anyone's back. But the problem is that the matches that they deliver are always under par. They're always slogs. They're terrible. Bad Luck Fale 2022 is not Bad Luck Fale from 2012. And we have to take this out of our brains right now. So right now, in this tag team right here, we have a tag team that is going to drag everyone else down. They're not going to elevate anyone. These matches, we know they're going to stink. The House of Torture, Evil and Yujiro, same shit. These are tournaments. You should be putting nothing but the best forward here. You should only be putting the best tag teams in the world to keep every round exciting, every match exciting. Have people guessing. I don't care if you have a team that is brought in to just eat pins. If they're putting on great matches, I won't care. If they're making us believe that they have a chance to win, then that's even better. This is going to be rough, man. This stinks. And this is a problem. And I'm going to tell you, the World Tag League setup that we have here, I'm a little underwhelmed. I was expecting a little more international flavor once again. I was expecting some bigger tag teams from elsewhere instead of pairing up fucking Tanahashi and Yano, the Bebop tag team. Like, all right, it's okay, Jesus. Like, yeah, of course, one of the things I had talked about this in regards to FTR, where I was like, well, I was kind of hoping that FTR was going to be in World Tag League, but clearly they're not. Clearly, there's other plans for them in their home promotion, right? I know people are like, put up or shut up, Cash, get into World Tag League. But it's not all up to them. And frankly, let's think about this for a second. Cash, Dax has been doing great. His leg is all still, braced up is the word I was looking for. It's still in a brace. He's still operating, he's still wrestling. That's fine. But these tournaments, they're grueling, right? It's a lot of matches to go through in a very short amount of time. So maybe just physically, he's also like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the smartest thing. I might want to do World Tag League over for like 3 weeks, but then in what shape am I going to be for the rest of 2023? And if it's not him who has that concern, Tony Khan probably has that concern as well. So it kind of stinks, but we know FTR is going to be at the Tokyo Dome to face whoever wins this. But I am much, much less excited about World Tag League than I expected to be. This is all a little flat to me. I'm excited for TMDK. I think that's a big deal. I'm excited to see what they're going to do against Aussie Open. I'm excited for a lot of combinations here, but there's a lot of things that are thrown together. I'm like, it's kind of boring. It's kind of the same old hat. Tell me you really couldn't have brought in anyone from CMLL? No one else from Rev Pro? Are the plans so clear for are the plans that clear for the Dark Order for the next few weeks in AEW that a couple of couldn't have sent Archer and Silver and Reynolds? That could have rocked. I don't know. I'm a little deflated. But Super Junior Tag League, though, it's a little different story. I think we got some good stuff here. We got Taguchi and Clark Connors were going to be in a tag team. Taguchi, coach, moving on from Master Wato and over to Clark Connors now. That's an interesting combination. Kushida and Kevin Knight. Again, another interesting combination. We got Tiger Mask and Robbie Eagles. Sucks because that means that they're not going to... Robbie Eagles is not going to win this tournament. Yo and Leo Rush are going to be also a team in here. Just chaos. Does this mean that Leo Rush is a member of Chaos? Has he been inducted? Is he on the team now? And we got the very interesting pairing of Alex Zane and El Lindemann from GLEAT. And this is probably the pairing from the both tournaments that I am the most fascinated about. This is an odd pairing, a little bit of an odd couple, but both in size and in presentation. What? Okay. Get the LIJ team of Bushi and Titan. See how that goes. TJP and Francesco Akira, the current champions, are in the tournament here. And they're fantastic. Suzuki Gun is going to be represented by Uncle Scumbag, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Doki. Bullet Club is going to be represented by Ace Austin and Chris Bay, both members of Bullet Club of Impact Wrestling. That fucking rules. And House of Torture, Show and Dick Togo. Bleh. Now you see this tournament, the Super Junior Tag League has me a little more. I think it's going to be a little more compelling. There's a lot more interesting stuff happening here with some pretty fun pairings. Some that you already know that New Japan is leaning a little hard into, that that are establishing as contenders. Yo and Leo Rush being one of them. I think Bushi and Titan will benefit from Titan's story of being the newest member of LIJ. They might do a little something with that. TJP and Akira are great. And, Ace Austin and Chris Bay are not going to cross the Atlantic to leave with 0 points. Kushida and Kevin Knight is something that I'm really interested to see. Like, there is excellent possibilities here. A lot of fun. I think there's a lot more potential here for the tournament. Again, I'm surprised I'm surprised there isn't more. There isn't like a pure lucha team. Like pure lucha, like again from CMLL. But this is all still very exciting stuff. And of course, the winners of both World Tag League and this, of course, the winner of both leagues are going to be taking on the champions of their respective divisions at Wrestle Kingdom, January 4, 2022. It's all good stuff. It's all excellent stuff on top of that. So I'm excited to see how all this is going to go. We're probably going to, not probably, but I will keep you posted. Of course, we will be covering here at the Mr. Warren Hayes Show these tournaments moving forward, because I love tournament wrestling. That's just how it goes, pals. And we're also going to wrap up the week here, because the weekly wrestling inspection is done. King of the North, Evan Wright, used his milestone message as a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel for 15 months. Thank you very much. He says Zack Sabre Jr. in his Ogawa phase with the Young Lions. Is he being maybe a little too nice with the Young Lions? Do you think? Maybe he might be a little too kind. But I see the comparison. It's actually pretty fun. I like it all. I like it all. He's been fantastic with the Young Lions. I think it's great. He should have sponsored a team to be in World Tag League. Anyway, but that could have been fun. But hey, well, there you go. See this. That was the thing. Look, on this beautiful chime, we're going to wrap up tonight's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. We're gonna wrap all of this up as another week in wrestling comes to an end and a new one begins. So I want to thank everyone for hanging out here tonight live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And I want to thank everyone listening to this on your favorite podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating, 5-star review whenever you can, because that stuff helps out a great deal. I will be back Thursday with the AEW Dynamite review, in-depth look at what's going to happen this week on Wednesday night. Plus Friday going Broadway, members only, over lunch, because it's fun to talk with people over lunch. In the meantime, though, I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your day. Enjoy pro wrestling, and I'll see you next time.